All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Market Prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning, and hopefully, you guys had an incredible day yesterday. All right. In the chat room, we're still having this problem. We can't figure it out. It's an old problem that's been haunting us for since I can remember, where I am not able to stream to the chat room. I have no permission, and it's such a random problem, guys. It comes in on and off. And even our tech guys can't figure it out. So YouTube is perfectly fine, always works with no problem. Our chat room is having some issues, even with a new computer. Still, this problem persists. So, good morning, Peter. How you doing today?
Good morning, Carlos. I trust you can hear me.
Loud and clear, my friend.
My PC's taking a moment where everything's frozen. I see all resetting. It's all blank. Uh-oh.
That's not good. Well, we can see you moving and can hear you, so that's good.
Somehow it's all the display drivers that seem to need to reset themselves occasionally. That's very strange. All right, we're back. There's nothing more upsetting to a trader, I think, when your screens suddenly all go black. I mean, I'm not in a trade or anything, but it gives me like heart palpitations every time. I'm always afraid that's going to happen when you're in the middle of a trade.
Yeah, that is not good. So over in our chat room, guys, you should be able to hear us okay. The sound is going through fine. It is just the video. You guys seen this problem before. We can't figure out why this happens, and we'll keep trying. We'll keep trying to fix it. Peter's going to share his screen. There might be a slight delay on it, but you should be able to see us there, at least for now. So thank you, Peter. Friends, let's get to it this morning. So much going on. Looking at our gappers list doesn't reflect all the action we saw yesterday, but we do have some stuff happening there. As you can see, some in the green, a little bit in the red as well. But man, what a heck of a day did we have yesterday. More of a bloodbath, really. But man, great opportunities for us to take advantage of. Peter, what's the latest and greatest happening today?
It was carnage.
Sure was.
Well, look, in the early minutes here, since 8:30, we can see the market going up slightly because we've got some bad numbers. So the economic numbers came out on housing starts and building permits. Both essentially were down compared to forecast. 1.48 million on the housing starts was the forecast. 1.32 was the actual number. So we see we're down about 100,000 starts, which is about 8% off the forecast. So that brings us down. The building permits, slightly narrower margin. 1.51 was the forecast. 1.45 was the actual. So we're only down by like half. I don't know, what is that? 1%, 3%. Sorry. So, but it's nothing big, but the market likes it when the economy cools because that means interest rates won't go up, as we say all the time. So that's where we sit right now. Now, what's interesting today is we got a couple of interesting things. You can pretty much ignore Jefferson speaking at 10. Interesting, but not impactful. The industrial, capacity utilization and no wonder I couldn't say it. Look at how I spelled that. Industrial. We're going to look at our industrial production numbers. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to make something up for that. Anyways, sorry, that's my bad spelling. Anyways, those are coming out just before the market open, which probably won't change the direction of the market significantly. What's really interesting is that Powell is speaking at 1:15. So keep that in mind. Whenever Powell speaks, the market tends to hold its breath until the speech starts, which means volumes tend to drop off. You'll notice sometimes the order book clears if you watch something like Bookmap. I know a number of our moderators do, so maybe we'll be able to display that in the room, and you'll see what happens. Yes, and then he will sprinkle his Powell goodness onto the markets, and we'll see what happens. So, with the recent numbers, the expectation is the Fed is going to strongly say. Now, this is the expectation, right? So anything could happen, but he's going to hint that he's going to have to maintain current interest rates or maybe even increase them. If there is even a hint that interest rates are going to go up, watch the market tank. If it goes the other way and he hints that they may actually reduce interest rates, watch the market fly. So the expectation is no change, right? Let's be clear. I think it's like a 96% consensus on those giving the forecast that they think the Fed is just going to maintain current interest rates. But you know what? Just because that's what they think is going to happen doesn't mean it is. And again, this is not a formal announcement. This is really just, I think he's got some speech somewhere that he's going to be speaking at, but it doesn't really matter, right? In fact, whether it's a formal speech or not, the impact is exactly the same. So he just has to get up and talk. So this is a talk. We'll see what happens. 1:15. Keep that time in mind because that's what's going to happen. And Kyle is telling us, Carlos, we need to change our graphics because we still have the old Twitter logo. You're right. We haven't. We gotta fix that. Actually, Carlos, we're living in the past, but maybe I'm just living in denial.
Those were good times. I don't want to change it yet. It reminds me of a low cost grocery shopping, and things were great. Things were great back then. X is going to it's so bad. I thought it was going to be better, but X is so bad now. Twitter was much, much better. So we'll keep it there in memorial of. Yeah, it was much better than it is now, man. It's I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That thing needs a lot of work. Needs to be revived or something. But yeah, we would definitely change that. Good point. We'll get our design team to work on that. All right, perfect, guys. Let's get to it. So our gappers list, and let's dive into that. See what we can find here. Is Peter frozen? Oh no, he's moving. I see that moving. Okay, good.
Am I here? Hey.
Yep. I thought you were frozen for a second there, but you're good.
All right.
So yeah, friends, let's see what we got going on here. Control Control X on the Dash Trader Pro. Control A, Control X is going to clean that up. And let's see what we have here this morning, starting with the gap up list, PALI. So PALI this morning, we are up 80% right now, 1.1 million shares traded. And again, tons of volume. Peter, this just broke out, so you might have not looked at it yet. What is the news on it?
It's a biotech company that has had a very positive study on their ulcerative colitis patient stool. Oh, I didn't think I'd be talking about stool this morning. All right, well, there you go. Anyways, they had a very positive study, and that's why they're breaking out. Low float, very low float. I see less than 1 million shares in the float, which means they've already traded more than their float. So this is a company with a $3.5 million. That's $3.5 million market cap. So pretty tiny company. Palisade Bio. They probably at that market valuation have like 5 employees. I don't know. It's ultra high risk, very low float. I'm probably not going to take much of a look at it.
Yeah, I'm not interested either. Let's go on to the next one. ITCI this morning, and ITCI, if I could type that correctly. ITCI, it is up 20%. Don't recall seeing this ticker in the past, but 701,000 shares traded. It is also not a low float, 94.22 on the float. So larger float, Peter, but this pre-market does not look interesting at all. I don't know if you like this at all. It looks horrible.
It's another biotech, bigger company. At least they've got a $6.5 billion valuation with 94 million shares. So, all right. So it's not a low float, but they have positive top line results for a phase 3 study on lumateperone being used as an adjunctive therapy in patients with major depressive disorder. I just read this stuff. It doesn't matter. It's positive results on a trial study, which means we often see this type of jump up. Again, not very interesting. There's not enough volume. From a volume perspective, if you really want to trade one of these, I'd actually go with Pali over this one, and I don't like Pali. So it tells you how I feel.
Yeah, I don't like this one either. Let's move on to the next one. Man, this list is going to get a big garbage can truck in a second here. UNH. This is UnitedHealth. It is up this morning 8%, 319,000 shares traded. Obviously, something brewing here because this thing barely moves. Trade's horrible, but Peter, what's driving it today?
Oh, my goodness. I apparently don't know what month it is. Earnings. I know. I just wrote on my sheet March. I'm like, I'm living in the past. Same thing with our Twitter thing. So there you go.
Yeah.
UNH. So UnitedHealth. This is the first of our earnings today. They had positive earnings, and had a good quarter clearly. And that's why they're gapping up. I mean, it actually was a very good quarter for UnitedHealth, which is interesting because remember earlier we had some reduced payment news that was taking down CVS and some of the others, Rite Aid. They were dropping. Apparently, UnitedHealth isn't affected by that. They did state in the quarter, I thought this was sort of interesting, that they had higher IT costs from a cyber attack that I don't remember them really talking about it, but apparently they had a fairly major cyber attack, enough that they had to mention it in their quarterly report, but not enough that it took their numbers down. They are predicting that despite that, they're able to maintain their outlook for the year, which means they would have overperformed if it wasn't for the significant costs from the cyber attack. So I guess the market is not as concerned about the cyber attack as they are happy that despite those extra costs, they're still able to maintain their numbers, which sort of feels like a beat if it wasn't for that. Although I bet you the IT guys are not happy. So.
Yeah, they sure are not. It is up. It is in play. I mean, this is the best free market you're going to get out of UnitedHealth. I'll put it on a secondary. Yeah. I just don't know if you're going to get any good activity out of it. So we'll give you the benefit of the doubt because it's such a nice move up. 8%.
I know I keep saying it. You got to be careful. And this is so always look for which exchange these trade on. This is a NYSE traded stock. You can see by the N in the top right corner of our what we call the montage window for DAS. If you have a different platform, it might look slightly different, but it should still tell you which market. Anyways, NASDAQ stocks and New York Stock Exchange stocks just trade different. So just be aware of that. So the UNH, I got all the problems I normally have with this. Plus, it's a higher price, which makes it a little, a little less predictable, right? Bigger spreads can be a little sketchy. So I will probably watch it just to see, just in case it does something really fun. But often it's just a harder. It sort of trades like a bank. So
yeah.
Speaking of banks.
It really does. Speaking of banks, right? Morgan Stanley up next on the list here, up 3.7, 468,000 shares traded. This one, and I think Bank of America also earnings today, right? Right, Peter, this morning?
Correct. Yeah. Bank of America didn't manage to make our list yet because it's only up about 1%, a little less than 1%. But they're both have the same, pretty similar stories, beat their numbers very handily. Profits on Morgan Stanley were up over 14% over the estimate. They beat their numbers. They're at the top end of their forecast going forward. Everything looks lovely in the banking world once again. So I shouldn't be shocked. The banks always have a way of making the world work in their favor. So
yeah, they really do. They're crushing it here this morning, up 3.7. Bank of America not up so much. Pop into the green, back into the red, and then just slightly up. So again, not really crushing it. That's why it's not on our gappers list. It's barely up 1% this morning. Next one on here is LVRO. So if we look at LVRO today, this is ugly. Here's our first garbage truck of the day, friends. That is a nasty ticker, nasty pre-market action, and horrible daily. You can see here barely anything going on there. There it is, Peter. Peter setting the truck out. It was on time for the chat room and delay for YouTube. So it's not Peter. It's just the way we're working today.
I was looking at the news and I only saw it in the chat room. So sorry about that.
It's all good. No, it's all good.
The sound delay, it was moving faster than the speed of sound. That's why.
Hot garbage incoming. Guys, this looks brutal, Peter. I don't know if you even looked at this, if you even want to talk about this. Thoughts?
This is it's pretty much a low float. I only see about 3 million shares in the active float. It's an agricultural product company from Brazil. I've never heard of it before. Lavoro. I'm sure it's an awesome company if you follow it. A couple, well, specifically Oppenheimer initiated coverage, so they decided to start following it. Not a lot of the major analysts in the U.S. anyways cover this one, so I guess that they're getting some additional coverage is good. But really, I'm not. Other than that, I'm not really sure why it's on the list. So
Yeah,
we're just
yeah.
gonna move on.
Yep, let's move on. That covers our gap up list. There's two that popped in here that I might have missed. DXYZ. So DXYZ. I remember the ticker. We've seen it plenty of times. It's a not a low floor, a new IPO that recently
Yeah, it
opened
was an
here.
IPO.
Yeah, making some noise. Up 50%, 206,000 shares traded. Hard to borrow with Interactive Brokers. So no shares for sure on this one. And again, they've just been moving up and down here with some significant volume over the last few days, and now back down to 42. It's good to see an IPO that after a week or two in is still above its IPO price. That's nice. That's actually pretty impressive. Um,
It's not bad, unlike some of the
yeah,
others that we've had recently that have dropped well below it. So,
yeah. I
but
don't know how well this is going to trade, Peter. I haven't even looked at how the pre-market, I mean, the intraday action has been on this ticker.
I,
Um,
I did watch it for a couple of days and really didn't like the way it moved, so I just ignored it and moved on. So, yeah, not that good, in my opinion.
Sorry, I was on mute there.
From a
Um, yeah, go ahead.
oh, I wasn't sure where you went. Uh, from a gap up perspective, some that didn't make our list, but I was watching. It is sort of secondary bank day. A lot of the banks that we don't normally follow are reporting today, so that can sometimes make the bigger banks move. So, but Bank of New York Mellon, their symbol is BK, reported. PNC Financial, Northern Trust Corporation, the Mercantile Bank Corp, Commerce Bank Share. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of them out there that are reporting. All of them, every single bank beat their numbers, so no surprises. A couple that aren't in the banking sphere but are gapping up that I will. Well, actually, that's not gapping up. Ericsson, ERIC, Eric. Eric missed top line, missed on their revenue, but did
What's the
beat
ticker again?
on Eric, ERIC.
ERIC. There you go.
Yeah. There you go. Good old Eric. Ericsson is on the. I always think Ericsson should trade better than it does, but it really doesn't trade very well. You can see, look at the daily, a bunch of gappy days. Some days where like you get nothing, right? Like almost no volume and no movement at all. It is dual traded, so that often leads to this type of trading pattern on the North American exchange. But they did have earnings, so maybe if ever there would be a day where it might trade well, could be today. But I've learned to sort of not watch it. There's usually better things going on. But if you're interested, there there you go. Eric M in the room says, "Hey, is a ticker named after him?" Yes, you do, and it's a pretty big company too. So there you go. Enjoy Eric. Maybe you can trade Eric just because. So there you go. And then the other one actually is gapping down. So we'll talk about it in the gap down.
All right, perfect. On the gap down list, again, some of these names that don't look all that hot. Let's take a look at the first one. KAVL. It is up 13.5, 213,000 shares traded, as you can see here. A big move yesterday, going from 250 to 950. Lower price stock. Just doesn't look good. The float on this also very low, under a million. I'm showing about 690 million on a trading on tradingterminal.com. So you can always head over there to get these scanners. By the way, these scanners here, guys, are coming off tradingterminal.com. Tons of great stuff there. So check it out. I'm going to skip on this, Peter. Anything you like?
I'm just really curious. I don't know what happened yesterday. I'm trying to figure out what the news was because I don't actually see any news on it. If anybody knows, because look at yesterday's price action, right? This was trading as a $2.50 stock, jumped up to almost $10. It looks like it hit a high of around 960, 970 yesterday before settling back down a little bit. So the fact that it's gapping down is only because of that giant move yesterday. But I don't know why. This is weird. It's a tobacco company that I've never heard of. Cavel Brands Group. I don't even know who these guys are. All right. Anyways, I thought there was only like one or two major tobacco companies, especially trading publicly. But I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what happened, but I have no idea. Craggy Rider saying that's the KAVL is the airport code for Asheville, North Carolina. Really? Okay.
Asheville, North Carolina. Nice. You got to be to know the ICAO for that. You got to be very local. So
Yeah,
you must live in the area. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's not like a major one. So you definitely got to be local. That's like knowing Teterboro here. You're not gonna know that unless you live in the area. All right, friends. Let's take a look at the next one here. INDO this morning. So INDO, we
so it
are
has
up
been.
10%. Yeah, 475,000 shares traded. We saw this twice already at least. I know we saw it yesterday and I think maybe even last week. But Peter, what's going on with this one today? Again, some action out of it.
Well, oil prices have been rising with some of the other, well, some of the precious metals we've been talking about. Oil saw a little bit of a rise. INDO had an increase. I think it was on our gap up list yesterday. And you can see that it had a couple of good days here. Friday and Monday both moved higher. So this is just a third day pullback. Nothing real special to report on this. I didn't like the price action in the last two trading days, so I don't think I'm going to like it any better on the downside today.
Yeah, yep. Don't like it either here. We'll move on. So the next one is going to be LYV. So LYV this morning, it is down 9%, 269,000 shares traded. That's a big drop. We're hanging out at 90, 100 yesterday, 101, 102, and now down to 90. But man, I wish this price action would look better. I wish the daily would look better, but it looks like a stock that barely gets any volume. Live Nation Entertainment. Don't think we ever heard of these guys, or at least can't remember.
Oh, there. Well, this is the you probably have, you just don't know it. This is the
It's
parent
golf.
company of Ticketmaster,
Yeah, yeah. I think I
and
heard of this. Yeah.
I tend to pay attention to it just because I did work for Ticketmaster for quite a long period of time, and in fact, met my wife there. She and I both worked at Ticketmaster back
Nice.
in the day. But Live Nation, so they are facing scalping. No, I used to prevent. I should get for you guys. I'll have to go. I'll go into my basement and find it. I had a couple of front page of the newspaper spreads. Were very embarrassing at the time, where I was on there when I was working. I was running Ticketmaster regionally, and sometimes you get in the newspaper because of that. So, but anyways, they're facing an antitrust lawsuit. So not a surprise. This is part of what typically happens in this. That they're feeling that there's unfair competition in this space. Usually these things, just cost a lot of money and don't go anywhere. But if you remember Pearl Jam a number of years ago, that was the big one in my day that decided they were rebelling and tried to, because they were very upset about all the Ticketmaster's monopoly, if you will, over and their fees. And then they went out and didn't realize that it actually ended up costing their ticket, their fans more because they couldn't do it any cheaper. So they sort of learned a harsh lesson out of that the fees were there because that's what the market demands. So anyway, not to dredge that up, but they're facing a potential lawsuit, a class action antitrust lawsuit, and this is why it's gapping down.
Yeah. So I don't think it's going to trade well. I love the gap down almost 10% now, 9, and it dropping a little bit more. So I just don't know how well it's going to trade. It's going to need more volume. Here is gold. Gold down, GOLD down quite a bit this morning, down 2.6. Hit a high of 19. The last couple of days been dropping here, now down to 16 at 92. I see in the price action on this ticker. I don't like the way it trades, but some people do. So I'll put it here on a secondary so you know that it is in play today. This is the kind of ticker that you know that it's in play because you've been following it, not because it's just kind of pulled up to it. So I'm gonna put it here in case you do trade these type of catalysts. Anything on this one, Peter? Before we get to the next one should be a real good one.
No, this is just the continuing movement of our precious metal segment. So you can see it's the gold prices were up all of last week. They're settled. They haven't actually dropped that much, but they settled this week. But the stocks which are a little over inflated are just dropping back down. But yeah, nothing big to report.
All right. Let's go on to the next one. This is going to be Tesla. And of course, Tesla in play today, down quite a bit. And yesterday, again, part of the bloodbath. If you remember yesterday, the SPY, just a quick look at it, everything just dropping very aggressively. SPY went from 515 all the way to 503, bouncing back a little bit. And again, it took plenty of stocks with it. But Tesla down some more today, man, down 2.5, 3.4 million shares traded. That's the type of volume we love to see on Tesla. Peter, was driving this today, man, or not driving this?
Yeah, and I got my fingers and toes crossed. You were able to incorporate our new graphic for today.
Huh?
No. Whoa, no. Oh, you got to check out our Telegram. There is an
Oh,
awesome graphic that John gave us so that we could take from X. Let me call it up while we're talking here. Not really
yeah.
a lot of news, except that it passed a key technical level. I look at a 60-minute chart, and if you look at a 60-minute chart, there was a I mean, it broke through a level, right? We were watching it yesterday around 162. I was looking to see if it would hold, and it just wouldn't hold. So sound off, but let's hold on. Hold on. Let me get this up on the screen for you. So here we go. Here's the graphic. We don't need the music. Oh, it's there you go.
Oh, I don't find your screen.
There's
I want to make this
Elon.
bigger, but I do see that.
Elon floating down river in a flaming garbage can. It's
that is pretty neat.
That's there you go. That's the graphic I was hoping that you had properly, because mine's sort of glitching here. But we'll get it in there so we can use it in the future, I guess. But anyways, it's Tesla is just sinking, and it's been sinking for a while now. If you look at the broader, the broader charts on Tesla, we still have, some area of support. I mean, it's not as low as it was when it was down at 100. So here, let me get rid of that, dude. We can go back to here. I'm back. It's not as low as it has been, but there's a long way between where we are now and 100, which is really the next port of call. We do have a potential area here. I mean, we'll talk technical a little bit later, Carlos, when you look at it. But if you look at last year, about this time, in fact, last year, we had a low at around 150, 152-ish. So I'm just seeing like there is an area of free fall here that we got to be careful of. So there's really not a lot of news other than continued over the price cuts that Tesla took because of the competition. Their volume has been stagnant to slightly lower. They've sort of been okay, but there's it's getting to be a tighter market. And while they haven't had significant competition in North America, we all know about the competition that's happened in China and spread, of course, to the Asia Pacific region and, of course, Europe. Eventually, we're going to get more electric car companies can actually compete with Tesla in North America, and that's when the global wars really start. So we're going to see what happens here. But yeah, there's nervousness. There is chum in the water, if you will, with Tesla. And at this technical level, it's a risky spot for it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm absolutely keeping an eye on Tesla because you just don't know what's going to happen today, right? Well, the fans, which always seem to be lurking out there, will they see this as an opportunity to buy, or will they sort of get out of the way and let this thing free fall for a while? It's tough to tell. But so far this morning, it's not looking great. And the close yesterday, the way we closed on Tesla, also didn't look great. So no real news, but technically it's in a dangerous spot. So.
It sure is. I mean, you expected the bloodbath yesterday here. But the fact that you're gapping down some more today when the SPY is actually trying to hold, it's not a good sign. Really bad. Yeah, careful if you're a Tesla fan and you're thinking about buying an opportunity here. It's hard to time the bottom. This might not be the bottom. This thing is really weak. And I said it before, Tesla has some issues, man. They got some real issues they got to figure out on how to make these cars sell and be more profitable. So I don't know. But there it is, guys. That is our gap up and down list. Only came out with only one that we really like. That is Tesla. That's going to be on our main list up here. Tons of volume, down 2.4. I mean, this is the most volume I've seen on Tesla in a very, very long time in the pre-market. And over here we have gold and we have UnitedHealth, which again is not a great trader, but it's up so much today. It's worth taking a look at. All right, let's head over to our community. Well, Peter, before we do that, anything you like besides what we talked about already?
Well, what didn't make our list, but I think we need to pay attention to, continues to be the semiconductors. Semiconductor space continues to move well. We had quite a number of the different people in our room were watching, from AMD, of course, to Intel, to NVIDIA, to Taiwan Semiconductor. They were all sort of moving in different ways yesterday, not all together, but they were moving. Andrew got a great trade. If you watched his recap, and if you haven't, you can go check it out on our YouTube channel. $33,000 profitable trade on NVIDIA, doing his one of his favorite strategies, which is sort of the 5-minute engulfing candle. Took it long and with heavy size, and got a great trade on it. So I was busy watching AMD yesterday, which AMD was really gapped heavy off the open. And then Thor and Megan, rare that Thor and Megan sort of trade together, but they, using completely different trading models and indicators, saw the same thing. And they took AMD long from its low and got a great trade from pretty much low to high on the day at that point in time. And arguably the biggest move of the day, and they were able to capture pretty much all of that. So some great trading on the semis yesterday. So I just expect that to continue. It's continued to give us some fun. Now, the volume's not super high this morning, but we're almost to 1 million shares on AMD, and NVIDIA is about the same spot. So put one or both of those on your list if you want. Would be my recommendation. The other one that you keep watching here is Apple. Apple had I'm a little upset at Apple, only because there was a great trade opportunity on it yesterday, and I took it. And I took it for a very specific move and got that move. It moved from what was sort of the high of day to the VWAP, right? And I thought the move was over, and I got it at VWAP, and it decided to hang out there for about an hour and a half, and then made the biggest move of the day to drop to the lows. And I completely missed the second half of the larger part of that move. So yeah, some good movement on Apple yesterday, I think, and worth keeping an eye on, in my opinion. So, Carlos, not a surprise in terms of the tickers I'm talking about, but they did move better than normal yesterday.
Yeah, they sure did. I mean, if you look at this gappers list, we went through it. There's not a whole lot that calls our attention based on how we like to trade. So we're going to kind of end up referring back to our usual suspect, Tesla, NVIDIA. You mentioned AMD and then Apple. So again, that's going to be my list today. Just not a whole lot coming off this gappers list this morning. All right, let's take it to the chat room. See what you guys like today. Starting here with our chat. Let's see what you guys have on deck this morning that we have not talked about. So AMD we did look at, so that's on deck this morning. Tesla is on deck as well. So you guys got kind of the same thing that we're thinking about. I don't see anything different. Morgan Stanley and Bank of America. You know what? Danny, great question. So Danny's asking over in our chat, do I have any interest on Morgan Stanley and Bank of America? Morgan Stanley is in play. I mean, this is in play. It is up 3.7, 523,000 shares traded. It's just a stock that doesn't get a lot of volume and doesn't trade very well. So I'm inclined to keep it off the list instead of putting it on. That's why it's not on there, but it is in play today. Given the fact that we do have space, and there's nothing really blockbuster status on the list, we can put Morgan Stanley. I'll watch it as a secondary, but my only concern on that is how well it's going to trade. Bank of America can trade a little bit better, but they're pretty flat right now. So they popped up, came back down. It's just kind of hanging out around the previous day close there. Actually had a nice pop here, up 1.4 now. It's got some volume, but this volume, you might think, oh man, this is a lot of volume. Bank of America always gets this volume, right? Not pre-market, but they get tons of volume throughout the day, and it doesn't mean they're going to trade well. So it's a very interesting ticker the way it does things. So I just we gotta be careful on that one. I'll put it here on a secondary. It is in play. Earnings today on Bank of America, and we'll see how that
Oh yeah.
goes. And also, which is a good one that could be interesting. Maybe not today. J.P. Morgan, their drop over their earnings report, and then yesterday. This could be interesting for a bounce if things recover. Maybe not today, but it's one to keep an eye on because that was a massive drop there for them this earnings report on Friday. So we'll keep on the lookout there. All right, friends. What else? Tesla. Let's see what other stocks you guys have on deck. I'm going to check over on our YouTube chat. Dimitri's giving us Mara, so Mara. If we take a look at this one, these two, by the way, in Coin were so great yesterday. Coin gave you an amazing 5-minute open range breakdown. So if you guys were trading down, you can see how beautiful that was. Just look at that consolidation, and it just never looked back. So these two were part of the Bloodbath yesterday as well. So I'm going to put Coin on the list. I do like the way it trades a little bit better than Mara, Dimitri. So you could watch Mara if you like. They're both great. I just prefer Coin a little bit more. I find the moves to be a little bit cleaner, but they're both in play. They've both been doing pretty nice. So I'll keep an eye on them and see how things move from there. I saw Jonathan mention Microsoft and a few other people before that mentioned Microsoft. So we'll take a look. Microsoft here that's pretty flat. I don't see a whole lot of movement. I think this is just going to move with the overall market. So I'm not sure how well it's going to be. If you look at some of the stocks we have in play that did have this massive drop, they look very similar, slightly up with the overall SPY. So I don't know if it's in play per se, but if you prefer this one, you can definitely add it to your list. Pig Wrestler says, I always prefer Coin. No, not true. There was one point we liked Mara. Mara was, remember, Coin just started relative to Mara. Mara used to trade way, way better. Coin is now the one that's kind of taken, a better stance as far as movement, the volume it's getting. But Mara used to trade much better than Coin. And I prefer Mara at that time. But Coin seems to be a little bit better nowadays, at least for me. But they're both good. They're both really good.
Microsoft is worth mentioning only because
Yep.
they announced they made a $1.5 billion investment in a company called G42 Group 42 Holdings, which is I think based out of the UAE. This is an AI play, and it's I was anyways, like we all do probably at times, you watch different people and their podcasts or news articles and what they think and what's going on in the market. It was an interesting point. They said, like, we have seen a remarkable amount of stability in the last decade in the markets from the really big players. And if you think about it, of course, Microsoft is one of those really big players, right? We talk about FANG stocks or the Magnificent Seven or the Fantastic Four, or whatever you want to call them. And people group these things differently, but this is a good example of how Microsoft is leveraging their money, their power, right? Which exhibits itself in its money, and you could argue, does it stifle competition or just allow them to create more opportunity? But I would argue that I think a lot of the larger companies, the bigger you get, the harder it is to actually be innovative within your company. It is. I've worked for large corporations. I've seen it time and time again. Despite the best of intents, the bigger you get, the more policies and procedures and protective measures you've got. And if you really want to be innovative, you have to often break a lot of rules. And it's tougher to break rules the bigger the machine, right, that you're part of. So how do they bridge that gap? By money and buying the creativity at certain points. Sometimes they honestly do it to kill it. Sometimes they do it because they do want to nurture it and let it grow. When it works best is when they buy it and then do nothing with it, right? They just buy it, provide them some seed capital, and just say, just do your thing, right? We're if you need money, give us a call. Otherwise, we're betting on your success. Go. And they don't. It doesn't always happen, right? Because different executives meddle, put their little fingers in there, and often ruin things more than help. But, anyways, this is a good example. Microsoft, we know that these guys are going to be a player, but it's interesting how, if you really look at our markets, right? So they have just been gobbling up a lot of the companies that might become the next Microsoft or Google or Amazon, because they've got so much money and so much power in the market. It's hard to say no when Microsoft comes calling with a $1.5 billion check, right? So, catch and kill, Tunde. So yeah, I mean, often that's the scenario, right? They literally do it for that reason. Not always. Like I don't want to be too negative a conspiracy theorist here, but it is a reality, right? Like there's you buy companies for different reasons. Sometimes hell, I did it. I was part of the acquisition model at Nortel when Nortel was the market darling and one of the biggest companies in the market there back 25 years ago. And we paid hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars for companies that we had no intent of leveraging their technology. It was seen as competitive, so we bought it and shelved it, right? And we said, hey, you guys are smart, let's put the smart people in different divisions, and hopefully you can do some good stuff for us. But it's the way it goes. Salim, I was middle management back then. I wasn't an executive. Wasn't really an executive till I went into my IT outsourcing days. But you guys need to take a drink. I just talked about it again. All right. Anyways, moving on. So, but anyways, Microsoft is worth talking about as they made that big investment. We'll see what happens with them today.
All right, excellent, friends. All right, let's go ahead and do announcements for today, and we'll quickly come back to levels. We're running extremely behind today. Me and Peter have been yapping away. I know what happened. We started late.
Me, yeah.
No, we started late. We started late. We started almost 7 minutes late. So,
I've been yapping.
Guys,
I've been sharing videos. I'm having fun this morning.
We were having fun, but no, we started pretty late with some tech issues. Friends, take a look at what's happening today. Peter's going to walk you through it and also show you how you can join our community if you're interested.
Plus, it brings me to, I can time this perfectly. So at the end of the announcements here, we can get with the 9:15 economic announcements, right? Don't forget about those that are coming out. We got the numbers coming. So let's talk about our Bearable Trading community. Tonight is our strategy and tradebook webinar with Lenny. Lenny's leading it. He's going to talk about his trading strategy and how he masters the open. He's got a relatively straightforward strategy, but one that you need to dig into the details to understand how it works. It's often the things that appear simplest that have the most work to get to. Right. So I loved what Lenny presented in Vancouver. If you weren't there and didn't have a chance to see it, well, now is your chance to understand his trading strategy and his approach. And if you were there, well, this should give you a little more detail for you to dig into. So it's going to be a great webinar and hopefully one that you will attend at 8 o'clock in the webinar room. Next week, we are going to have Paris talking about how he unlocks the value out of his chart patterns and how he manages what he does. You all know he's the master of the tape, and he's going to share that approach and combine it with the psychological insights he's gained from doing that next week, April the 23rd at 8 p.m. This brings us right to our economic announcement moment, and the numbers should be coming out any second now. So I'm looking for two: industrial production. My voice is cracking. I'm so excited. And the capacity utilization numbers. So they should be out any second now. Here they are. I just saw them. Oh, and then they went away from me. What happened? They came out. 0.4% on industrial production was the expected growth. It came in right at 0.4%. What happened here? I had the numbers and then they disappeared on me. They popped away. That's weird. And then the capacity utilization basically came in right on target as well. 78.5% was the expected utilization rate, and it came in at 78.4, which is pretty much right on target. As you can see, it hasn't changed much in the last few reporting periods. If I look at the market, the market said, whatever. It hasn't done much and continued on. Thank you, Matt H, for getting me those numbers, because I don't know what happened on my screen. I went to refresh thinking that would get me the numbers, and it made them disappear. Oh, here they are. So remember, guys, the next big economic announcement number that we're looking for will be at 1:15 today when Powell is speaking. So whenever Powell speaks, the market often goes quiet a little bit before, and then we can get some weirdness. So be ready for that. All right, Carlos, we are behind. I see Andrew is already ready to go.
He is ready to rock and roll. So this is what we'll do. I want to get so Andrew can get on. What we'll do is we'll call it here for our chat room. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to continue on YouTube. I'll get YouTube some levels, so I'll continue there, and then I'll let Andrew and Brian get live here. They're going to continue in chat and take us through the market open. So chat room, thanks for joining us this morning. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, actually, we'll see you in a bit after we're done with the YouTube chat. So we'll cut the stream
We're
here.
mirroring into infinity here. That's awesome.
Yes, infinity and beyond.
Wow.
So we'll cut this stream and then we'll continue here in our YouTube chat. So let's do that now. We'll cut the.
All right. Thanks to the room. Trade smart over there in the chat room.
Yep.
We'll be back with you soon.
All right. So just one
And
second.
don't forget to subscribe. Andrew's doing our PR and marketing for us. Don't forget the pre-market show brought to you by tradingterminal.com. Tradingterminal.com. It's the place to go for all your trading needs if you're an active trader. Please check it out today. There you go. That was
absolutely.
My
all right, friends. Peter, you have to cut the sound.
Oh yeah.
In not the sound. Yeah, the sound, I believe, in the chat. And the stream.
I don't have any sound going in the chat.
I think you have the stream.
Oh yeah. It's done. Yeah. There you go.
All right, perfect. Okay, excellent. All right, YouTube friends, let's go ahead and continue here. I got to just close this over here. There we go. All right, perfect. Let's continue here. Let's get some levels for you guys. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. Really appreciate it. It helps us out a ton. So over here, we'll look at Tesla. We'll start there. Tesla this morning. Again, just kind of stuck in a range, did drop down nicely. As Peter mentioned earlier, just not a whole lot of good stuff happening for Tesla here. Low of the pre-market 156.80, high of the pre-market 160.37. And then we got this tight range of the last couple of minutes here, right? 158, 158, 156.84, 158 again, and then kind of hanging here trying to get back down. So pretty good pre-market activity there as far as the highs and lows of the last two trading days as far as the high and low of the pre-market. As far as the bigger picture, above the previous day close, we do have an area here, 164.70. And as Peter mentioned, we haven't been down here in a long time. We're going back to almost a year from now. That is going to be 152.53. So 152.53 is the level I see on the daily that has some support. As Peter is showing us his garbage can. Who gave him our garbage can? That's our garbage can, man. Somebody
That's
gave
our
it to,
garbage. Well, it's public
how did he
access,
get in
I
there?
guess.
Yeah.
Was Elon hiding in there the whole time? He just decided to pop
he just
out
popped up like, hey man, it's been me this whole time. That's awesome.
Maybe we didn't know. Maybe he's always been in there.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Boogie Woogie over on YouTube is loving that. He's our garbage can representative there. So he loves that. All right, let's head over to NVIDIA. NVIDIA also towards the top, highs and lows for the last two trading days. Bouncing a little bit here, 0.5% up this morning. 868.24 is the high of the pre-market. The low is going to be down over at what we want to see for 849.32. So we'll mark that there. And then below that, in case you do see a drop, 838.99. So pretty interesting. It was great yesterday. Let's see if that momentum can continue. AMD was very similar as well. AMD had a nice consolidation here, and then from there it kind of fell apart. But right now, stuck between the highs and lows of the last two trading days. High of the pre-market right at 163, and the low in the red over at 159.52. So once we mark those two, you're set on AMD. Last one, two more here. We'll look at Apple, which again, Apple looks very good. Not a whole lot of volume today, but I think there's some potential here. 171.57 is the low of the pre-market, and the high over at 173. Towards the top, notice the highs and lows here, here, and here. So you're set there. You don't have to worry about that. You also got the previous day close. So plenty of levels towards the top. Towards the bottom, in case you do drop, I do see an area right over here at 170.38 and over at 168.60. Last but not least, it's going to be Coin. Coin and Mara both in play. As Pig Wrestler was mentioning, you could watch Coin. If you could watch Mara if you prefer that one. He prefers Mara big time for the way he trades. I prefer Coin for the way I trade. They're both really good depending on your trading style. High of the pre-market 226.63 and the low 216.85. You do have your highs and lows all the way up here, right? But before we get to that, if we decide to move up, there is an area here worth marking down. That's going to be 236.10. So definitely have that on there. And then below the low of the pre-market, if we were to drop any further, we have 210. And if we saw anything near yesterday, even half of yesterday, 261, 200, it was 61 cents is a good area that we can get into. So that's it, friends. Hopefully you guys have an amazing trading day today. Be careful out there, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Peter, anything we forgot?
Hey, you want to tell them what our moderators are looking at? We didn't go over that.
Oh, we could. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Just because we're not in the room doesn't mean we can't share that with all our friends out there.
Absolutely. Actually, you know what? I'm working on a new screen here. I'm working on a couple of things. So let's look at this over here. Let's get Andrew out of the way. And here is our moderators list, friends. So right now we have Thor looking at Tesla, overall market spies and cues. Megan looking at AMD and Tesla. Jared, AMD, Tesla, and he's also looking for market internals and corrections. Andrew, as you can see here, he is trading live. He's got his station and ready to go. And he is looking at AMD, Tesla, NVIDIA, aiming potential longs, AMD, pins, both really risky. You got IPO for today, Peter. TWG?
Yep. We're expecting it anyways. I'll let you know if and when it opens.
All right. And then if I can scroll this up a little more, here is your list, Peter. AMD, Tesla, Apple, UNH, UnitedHealth, Morgan Stanley, and Bank of America on deck. I also have those as well. And then Mike looking at AMD and NVIDIA in our chat as they get ready to rock and roll here. All right. Excellent, guys. Have an amazing trading day. Peter, anything that we missed?
I think now we got it covered. I like the new screens, Carlos. Looking good. So
yeah, we're working on it. No, so hopefully get something going here, guys. If you have any suggestions, Carlos@bearbootraders.com. Send them over to me. We're always looking to make the channel and the show better. Take care, guys. Trade safe.
Take care. Trade smart, everyone.